Welcome to Daily Revelations. We are in Nehemiah 10 still, and what I want to talk about is something that was mentioned briefly, and you may not know a whole lot about the Levitical law, and so it's easy to kind of read over, and even in my readings this week, it was something that I kind of read over, and it popped out at me today, and it made me start thinking about just how God works within our lives to train us to trust Him. We can either take those lessons and learn from them, or we can say, well, that's good for another day, and I'm not going to do it right now because I'm got everything else going on that I need to trust and do. So, what God built into the Levitical law, verse 31 of Nehemiah 10, it said that they weren't going to allow people to come in on Sabbath and to sell anything. But at the end, it says this also, is that we will forgo the crops on the 7th year and the extraction of every debt. So what God's law said is in Leviticus, I'm going to go back, Leviticus 25, 1 through 7 was, on every 7th year, don't plant anything. Glean from what you already have. And it says this, the land shall have a Sabbath as well. 6 years you'll sow your fields, and 6 years you will pick, from your vineyards, prune those bushes down, do everything you need. But on the 7th year, seeds will fall, things will happen when you harvest, things will grow, and I will provide enough. But save up, learn how to store up your provisions. Learn how to live in a time where you have less. And every 7 years, God wanted them to do that, to live off the land for what it provided, but also over those 6 years to save up and to prepare. And what a beautiful picture of what God asks us to do as we trust Him. He gives us more than we need. Do we use that frivolously, or do we save it for a time when He knows that we will need it? Doesn't mean that we don't share from that. These people are also saying we will, we'll give to the church or to the temple. We'll provide all these other things. We will tithe. But what about what we've been given in excess? And how do we use that? So he says that, as well as we're going to forgive the debts of everybody that owes us anything every 7 years. And the willingness to let go. Trained to trust. That's what God's law had built within it. And it's when we're obedient to Him, He asks us to do the same things. Do you trust me? I have given you this. Now I've asked you to do this with it. I have given you this. You don't have need for all of it. Yes, give some of it away. Can you also put it into savings? Can you do these other things? And over time, we can learn as we do those things that He asks us to do in preparing and yet trusting. We don't stock up provisions out of fear, but we do out of trust, because God asks the people in the Old Testament to do that. He asks us to do the same. That there will be times like what we're going through right now, and have you been trained to trust me? Have you done what I've asked you to do to be ready for what it is now? I know I talked to a lot of people and they said, we don't have everything we want, but we have everything we need. And learning to live within just what you need and being grateful and thankful. That's something that we are trained to do, especially in a society that says you can get whatever you want whenever you want, and now you can't. And so it's just a change. I have said to a lot of people in the last couple of weeks, my family was trained in a dramatic way. We lived on a farm in the middle of nowhere. It seemed like our nearest neighbor was over a mile away. And at times we had snowstorms where for 2 weeks plus we were stuck at our house. And we learned to eat what we had, We learned to live in the conditions we were given. We learned that relationships were important and keeping family peace, how to do that with one another so close. And I know it was tough for us. Definitely. It took a lot of changes of how we had lived in the city, and then we moved to the country, and now we're back in the city again. But that time of training really is paying off right now in this time. I mean, I learned to make bread from scratch, grind my own wheat berries, and so that's what I'm doing again. I'm not making cheese like I used to. If I had a cow, I'd be doing that too. But what has God trained you to do, to trust in Him about? And are you resting in that? And are you learning new ways to trust in Him through what circumstances we're going through now? And it's a constant process. There are things that we can still fear about. We can still have to give over to God every day. Yeah, that's a constant too. So I just encourage you, be trained to trust, and definitely hold on tight to those things that God has already worked in your life to train you in, and make that fruitful, because that's what we're allowed to do when we trust. We're not caught up in a whole lot of things, so we can actually do what God asks us to do to bless others. So have an awesome day, and I will see you again tomorrow as we wrap up the Nehemiah 10 videos. I'll see you then.